Okay, I want to welcome our Inspired Writer blog viewers. I have a very special treat for you today. I have Sandy FiveCoat, the founder of We Are Teachers, which I know many of you teachers out there are probably members of, and if you're not, definitely check out We Are Teachers. It's a great website. Sandy, do you want to just kind of share what We Are Teachers does?
Sure. Thanks for having me, by the way. We Are Teachers was founded originally as a way to sort of give voice to teachers and give them a way to communicate with each other, sharing ideas, collaborating, etc. And it's sort of morphed into an online website that has a lot of great content for teachers, and also a way for marketers to share content with teachers. So companies that do business with teachers can share free products. Frequently they give away grants. They ask teachers to review their products. They want product feedback. So it's become kind of a great way to have collaboration among the education industry and the teaching profession. We're very proud of that because we think that connection was missing, and both groups kind of missed opportunities because of that. We also have the weareteachers.com website, of course, is where a lot of this content is in repository. But we have a very big presence on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest for those teachers who really want to have an ongoing dialogue and just connect the We Are Teachers content into their other social media interactions. So we have a big presence in those places as well, and it's been fun to watch it grow and to see how teachers are responding to the content that we develop for them and sharing content themselves.
Absolutely. And we, being both educators ourselves, we know that teachers love free content. So definitely to our viewers out there, check out weareteachers.com. So I've asked Sandy to join us today to talk about kind of a futuristic topic, but really not that futuristic, as it's right on the forefront of where I think education and writing possibly may be going. And that's what we're calling our speech-to-text. And you can see, if you've clicked on the link from the infographic, Siri, can you write for me, symbols to Siri. We're going to talk about just kind of where Sandy thinks the future is headed in terms of speech-to-text. And so, Sandy, you've seen our infographic. Can you kind of talk to us about what your thoughts are on this?
Yeah, I really think this is it's a trend, and it's interesting. I've been in this industry a very, very, very long time. I've spent about 15 years at Apple, and I've been in lots of different education technology endeavors. And I really think what's interesting about these new kinds of technologies is they begin as kind of a standalone phenomenon, where you go purchase a special application or access a new app specifically for that need. But what's happening now is that it's becoming more integrated into more and more applications and more devices. It kind of reminds me of, I'm going to show my age here, but it reminds me of the old days when the Macintosh was first introduced in 1984. And the mouse was an input device that was developed at Xerox PARC, but made commercially available through Apple's Macintosh for the first time. And, that was kind of a weird new thing, but it opened up a whole new way of engaging with technology and providing input to technology that ultimately became ubiquitous. And can you even imagine buying a computer today without a mouse? I mean, it just, it wouldn't be done. So I think speech recognition is sort of in that category. I think it remains to be seen, though, whether younger folks will give up their thumb texting for speech writing, but I think ultimately the implications are pretty amazing.
Well, and you were sharing a story with me about your husband. Tell us about that, because
yeah, he's
all age levels. It doesn't,
yes, my husband, he would love this. He's very shy, so he'll be embarrassed if he ever listens to this recording. But he's a CPA, and very, very bright, but very detail oriented, and really has had a hard time with texting because of that. He just he doesn't get that text should be really short and emails can be longer. Right. Everything he does is detailed and lengthy. So the text-to-speech tool on the iPhone for him and the iPad has just been, it's totally changed his life. I mean, he uses it constantly for everything from giving him notifications and calendar reminders to texting the family to texting clients. He just, you know, he uses that all the time because he doesn't have the ability to make things short and sweet. Right. So the speech-to-text phenomenon has been, and it's interesting to me too how accurate it is. I remember text-to-speech decades ago, literally, and it was very kludgy and very difficult to use. You had to spend a lot of time training the technology to understand your particular nuanced voice, and that's just not the case anymore. So it's becoming more commercialized, more prevalent, integrated into the lives of even CPAs.
Right, there you go. Well, and definitely I think that it crosses kind of all industries, and I do see that it's amazing to think, I mean, I use it all the time for my emails and texts as well, and so my fingers aren't going on the keyboard nearly as much because I'm relying on my iPad, and I am using, you know, the Siri on that to compose. But just think about, though, where this direction is going and how different our world may be in the future, where we're not putting pen to paper or pencil to paper, we're speaking what we want to write, and how different that uses a different side of the brain. So I mean, I think students definitely need to be using all modalities. They need to be putting the pencil to the paper because that does involve a different part of the brain. But I think also for the students that struggle with handwriting or struggle with spelling, and that gets in the way of writing, I think it can be a gift to be able to speak what you want to write. But just really interesting. I mean, it's kind of a whole new level.
Yeah, I think the implications for students are huge. I think, for example, just access, especially for those students with limited motor skills. Right. For whom writing is just an enormous chore. And it's interesting, too, to me that most new technologies begin with the disability community. I mean, there have been speech-to-text technologies for differently abled people for a long, long time, and it's sort of like ramps in the curb, originally designed for wheelchairs, but now ubiquitously used for people on bicycles or moms pushing strollers, or these kinds of adjustments that we make in our culture for handicapping conditions ultimately are revised and used for all kinds of kids. And I think that'll be true with this technology. I also think that students, when they're able to conform or convert, rather, their spoken word to a written word, they're likely to take more risk in writing and be more creative. It's kind of like, if you think back on the impact of word processing as opposed to pencil and paper writing, had a similar creative unleashing capability for students, because they know, students today routinely know, that what they first type can be edited and revised. And I think the same will be true of writing. I think students will become accustomed to giving notes to themselves and maybe converting those notes into a written document later, or just being more creative because they're able to, they know they can go back and work on the piece more easily. And I think also writing mechanics often get in the way of students' creative writing, because they worry while they're writing about grammar and spelling and tense and all of that sort of thing. And sometimes those things come more easily in a spoken word because when you hear yourself talk, you know, part of grammar internalizing is just, it sounds right if you say it correctly. But writing it is sometimes a difficult barrier. So I think this kind of technology may help students translate from sort of mechanics of writing because they're able to hear and say what they mean without the bother of the mechanics for at least the first draft. And I think certainly overall this technology might increase fluency in writing. As you know, I'm a math person, I'm not a reading language arts person, but I believe it's true that whatever skill you're learning, particularly in English language arts, is better served with additional fluency. I mean, practice makes perfect, and the more writing we get kids to do, the better writers we can teach them to become. And if they're able to say what they feel and get it captured in text, then we have a better chance, I think, of getting more content from them.
Yeah, and a great point, Sandy. And it's just so interesting because do we then change the word? Does the word of the subject area say the word writing? I mean, is it really then writing when you're speaking it? So, you know, we've talked about a lot of the positives. On the infographic, we also have the positives of using a pencil and how that has more positives than using speech to text. So, you know, there's pros and cons with anything. And so I think we've pointed out some good points, and you definitely have shared some points that I haven't even thought of. It'll be interesting. I mean, I know that there'd be a lot of students that would find it beneficial out there. So, you know, we're looking to adapt technology to make something like this into our student writing program.
I think it's a great idea because it's just like any other technology. Everybody gets all gets on bandwagons about certain things. For example, computer-assisted instruction. Initially, particularly education administrators felt that it would even the playing field so that not every teacher had to be a master teacher because we could put all this teaching expertise into this box. And, you know, students would learn in spite of bad teachers, and all would be well, and assessments and training and curriculum would all be delivered with this computer-based instruction tool. And of course, it didn't take us very long to realize that while there's a place for computer-delivered instruction, particularly for lower level on the hierarchy of skills, those kinds of skills, that technology has a place, but not in place of high quality human engagement and human interaction. And I think this technology will go the same way. I think that there'll be a place for speech recognition, just as there's a place for handwriting recognition, just as there's a place for computer-based instruction. But I think handwriting with a pencil has certainly has there's a lot of research to indicate that even just student copying notes puts that thing, that knowledge in a different part of their brain somehow, and makes it stick better. So I think there's the challenge I think teachers have today is how do you balance all the technology and the older kinds of technology with the newer kinds of technology and understand what's going to work well. And I would encourage teachers who are listening to this podcast to just remember that a little bit of all of it is going to be important for most learners, and it'll become fairly obvious to most thoughtful teachers which kinds of students gravitate to which kinds of tools. So I think being open and non-rigid in what we require students to do to communicate their knowledge, which is, after all, that's all writing is. It's just a communication, you know. So some kids are going to be great at making films. Other kids are going to be able to speak and have their writing captured through text-to-speech. Other kids are going to just want to write with an old-fashioned pencil and paper. And it's just really important, I think, that we provide all those opportunities for students. And then give them a lot of open-ended choices about tools. and focus on the thing that's going on in their brain. What is it they have to offer? What kind of thoughts are they having?
Right.
What kind of things do they want to share? And then provide them the right vehicle for that sharing.
Excellent point, because I mean there are some people that don't like the speech to text at all because they're not verbal people, possibly. You know, they're more of a kinesthetic where they need to put that pencil onto the paper.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly
and so
right.
I think you're right. It's looking at what's going to help the students best, because like you said, I mean, all writing is putting your thoughts down on paper.
So the idea is, how do we help students capture those thoughts and communicate them to other humans? Yep. That's the only real objective that we should worry about. How we do that, it's what the curriculum is for, it's what exposure to technology is for, but we really need to understand at the end of the day, our job is to facilitate that very high level kind of engagement.
Exactly. Great. Well, what a great discussion this has been, Sandy. Thank you for all your valuable wisdom and information that you've provided to our viewers here. We thank you for taking time out of your busy day to help inform us, and it's been nice talking to you.
Great. Good talking to you too, and keep doing good stuff.
Thank you. We're working on that for sure. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.